This is New Zealand. Just saying the name conjures something. Pristine fjords, mountains that look like they belong in a fantasy film. Clean air so sharp it almost hurts to breathe. A place consistently ranked among the most beautiful, most livable, most peaceful countries on Earth. For decades, people around the world dreamed of moving here. They saved up, applied for visas, uprooted their lives, and made the journey to the bottom of the world because New Zealand felt like somewhere worth the sacrifice. So why, right now, are New Zealanders leaving it in record numbers? The numbers are hard to ignore. In the year to August 2025, 73,900 New Zealand citizens left the country, the highest annual departure figure ever recorded. More than a third were aged between 18 and 30. The country now sees 3 New Zealanders leave for every one who returns. That's not a trend, that's a crisis. And here's the paradox. New Zealand has the image, the brand, the global reputation. Ask anyone in London, Tokyo, or New York what they think of New Zealand, and they'll say, beautiful, safe, clean, peaceful. A utopia at the edge of the world. The kind of place people escape to, not from. But behind the postcards, something has gone badly wrong. And to understand it, you need to look at 3 things: housing, wages, and jobs. Start with housing. New Zealand has one of the most unaffordable property markets on the planet. House prices sit at roughly 7 times the average income. For many young New Zealanders, home ownership doesn't just feel difficult, it feels like a different life, lived by a different generation. The share of income needed just to service a mortgage has hovered between 53% and 57% for 3 years running. More than half your paycheck before groceries, transport, or anything else. And nearly half of all renters now spend over 30% of their income on housing, compared to just 19% in the 1980s. This isn't a new problem, but it has gotten dramatically worse. Then came the recession, a brutal one. New Zealand's economy contracted sharply heading into late 2024. Unemployment climbed to 5.2%. Food prices jumped 5% in a single year. In Wellington alone, nearly 200 businesses closed following sweeping public sector cuts. Streets that once hummed with workers grew quieter. The cost of living didn't just rise, it surged. Basic food items increased by 56% between 2022 and 2023. 56% on food, the most fundamental human necessity. When housing eats your income and groceries eat whatever's left, there isn't much remaining. Not for savings, not for a future, not for a reason to stay. And then there's Australia. Right next door, sitting just across the Tasman Sea like an open door. For New Zealanders, moving there requires no visa, no application, no waiting list. Just arrive and begin working. And once they do, the financial difference is immediate. Australian wages typically exceed New Zealand salaries. The same job, the same skills, the same hours, tens of thousands of dollars more per year. One young New Zealander who relocated to Sydney said he now spends about a quarter of what he used to on food back home. A quarter. When your paycheck goes further and your groceries cost less, the math isn't hard. You don't need an economics degree to work it out. You need a plane ticket. What makes this particularly alarming is who's leaving. It used to be young people in their 20s heading off for what Kiwis call their overseas experience. A rite of passage, a gap year, an adventure. They'd always come back. But something has changed. Now it's older, skilled workers too, people in their 30s and 40s, with careers and roots and families. They're not leaving for adventure. They're leaving because staying no longer makes financial sense, and more than a third of those departing weren't even born in New Zealand. They came as immigrants, built lives there, contributed to the country, and then decided Australia could offer what New Zealand couldn't. As one economist put it, if you haven't got a job and you haven't got an affordable house, then you really start to ask, are you better to come back to New Zealand, or are mum and dad better to move wherever you are? Increasingly, Families are choosing the latter. Zoom out, and you see the deeper danger. A shrinking, aging population means fewer workers, less tax revenue, fewer businesses, less investment. Hospitals without enough nurses. Schools without enough teachers. It's a spiral quiet at first, then very hard to reverse. New Zealand is still one of the most beautiful places on Earth. The fjords are still there. The mountains still rise in ways that steal your breath. But beauty doesn't pay rent. Scenery doesn't cover a grocery bill. And a reputation for paradise is hard to maintain when the people who actually live there, who grew up there, who love the place, can no longer afford to stay. The land is still there. Extraordinary, untouched, breathtaking. The question is whether the people will be.